Yes, Matthew.
Sure. I wanted to ask you, the South Sudanese government, the information minister, Michael Lueth, has said that they've asked Secretary General, the government of South Sudan has asked the Secretary General to reinstate the Kenyan force commander. Is that a request that you're aware of? And you'd said that there's no provisions for reviewing it. If a host country were to make such a request, would that be at least considered or rejected out of hand?
The decision taken by the Secretary General is not going to be reversed. Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Sure. I want to ask about South Sudan and Kenya. One is it's reported that in the aftermath of the firing of the force commander that there have been threats made to Kenyans inside South Sudan in IO-controlled areas, including in the Benju, in and around Benju, and that people's passports have been taken. I wanted to know what is the
Are you talking about UN staff or
I'm talking about NGO staff
Yeah.
of NGOs in Benju having their passports taken, having death threats given in writing to UN staff, and also in Kenya itself, the arrest of South Sudanese. And I'm asking you mostly because it's said that the IO representatives have asked Ban Ki-moon to somehow get involved in terms of deportations being made to safe countries and on the issue as a whole. And I wanted to know what role the resident coordinator in Kenya has taken.
Obviously, I think on the issue of deportation, especially of people who may already have been granted refugee status. We saw what happened last week to the spokesman of the opposition. Our colleagues at UNHCR in Nairobi intervened directly with the Kenyan government, and I know they're on top of the situation in regards to other people who may be under threat. So the UN system is responding through the appropriate agency. On the question of Kenyans in South Sudan, I'll take a look, but it's obviously important that NGO workers, humanitarian workers, be allowed to do their work and do their work without the threat of intimidation or worse.
And is there? I've heard that there's a joint SPLA UN action on Ye, a convoy that's heading there, and I wanted to know what is the status of UNMISS working with the government to either open up humanitarian areas or to recapture more areas?
I shared with you the only update I'd received from the mission, so if I get more, I'll share it with you.
Okay,
I don't have the dates of when exactly he will take up his office, but obviously we're more than aware of the importance of continuity on the humanitarian front in Haiti.
Okay, and I wanted to ask something about Cambodia, but it's related to what I just asked you about Kenya. It said that in Cambodia, the government is very angry at the UN and has communicated this to the resident coordinator, that it believes that criticism of trying to exile Sam Rainsy makes the UN Office of High Commissioner of Human Rights Office in the country, quote, illegal. But this was communicated to the resident coordinator. The resident coordinator responded. So first of all, I wanted to know if you have any comment on this move by Cambodia, but two, I want to understand better the role of resident coordinators. Do they speak for the UN system? Because I've asked twice whether the resident coordinator in Kenya has gotten engaged on this pretty serious issue between Kenya and the Secretariat.
I think you seem to say, I know your interest in Kenya. The resident coordinator is the coordinator of the UN system. He sits at the head of a table where, just depending on the country, sometimes every UN agency is concerned. He is there to coordinate the work of the UN system. Each resident coordinator will get involved as necessary. Obviously, in Kenya, on the issue of refugees and deportation, that's a UNHCR matter. If there is a communication to be given to the UN, it is usually given to the resident coordinator as a matter of course. On the issue of peacekeeping and the Kenyan troops at UNMISS, that's a question that is really being dealt with at this point between the peacekeeping department and the Kenyan government. But I have no doubt that the resident coordinator's office is fully aware of the situation as it should be.
Because it seems like there's an issue. There was an arrest over the weekend or a raid on a South Sudanese wedding party in Kenya, pretty much seemingly related to the issues. And this is neither a UNHCR issue nor a DPKO issue. It's a straight up Kenya acting against people of a certain nationality due to an action taken at headquarters. So did this fall through the gap, or is there somebody addressing that issue?
I haven't seen those reports.
And just because I think you're guessing why I'm interested in this in part because one of the issues that arose on the promotion was, for example, Ban Ki-moon, it seems like unilaterally just made the decision to hold accountable the Kenyan force commander. It was his decision, right? This is my understanding. There was no appeal, there was no panel.
Yeah.
Right. So who has that same power as to the resident coordinator in Kenya? Is there any process, if he were to make a mistake, and I'm not saying he's made a mistake, but the problem of having this familiar relationship is...
The resident coordinators are appointed by the Secretary General, and they report to him.